So welcome back for session 6. So we're getting towards the end of the program. We've only got 2 more sessions after this particular one finishes. And today and through this week in the program, we're focusing on the idea of saying thank you, being grateful, being appreciative for everything that we have. And so we're going to focus on some of the things which are particularly connected with an ancient Greek word called Eucharisto, or in English, Eucharist. Eucharisto was the Greek way of saying, I thank you, I say thanks. And so it's come down in the life of a church as the word to describe what we're doing when we gather at the table of Jesus. And we're saying thank you because we're really glad to be alive, because we're really glad because of all God's blessings which we've received. We know from the rest of our lives that if we don't ever say thank you to people, even if we do appreciate them, if we don't say thank you, then kind of things get a bit more difficult between us. But we also know that if we say thank you, and if people say thank you to us for things that we're doing, it's not because we have to, but simply because we care about them, then saying thank you strengthens that relationship, makes it more joyful, makes it more robust, makes that it's going to last and deal with some of the times in life when things can get a bit tough. So here we are, we're going to be focusing in particularly at the Eucharist, and I'm going to be looking in a little bit to show you in a little bit more detail some of the items which you will be seeing on the altar during the Eucharist. Next week we'll be talking more about what the time of communion means as we share the sacred bread and the sacred wine. But today I want to focus more on the idea that we're gathering at the table, we're putting on a bit of a party because we're wanting to say thank you. And we're saying thank you for life. We're saying thank you for being part of this amazing universe and this beautiful world and here in this lovely valley and city. We're saying thank you for all the ways in which God has blessed us and our ancestors. We're especially saying thanks for the way that Jesus has brought forgiveness and salvation and healing and wholeness and wisdom into our lives. And of course, we're giving thanks for the fact that we can worship freely in this country with freedom of religion. It's also a good idea when we're coming to church to have our own little personal list of thank yous. What do I want to be saying thank you to God about during this part of the service when our focus moves from listening and caring and reconciliation to saying thank you? So make your own little list, even a list in your head of one thing, at least one thing that you want to be thankful to God for when you come to church on a Sunday and share in the Eucharist. So now what I want to do in the last minute or so of this video is just to focus in on the altar, the table of Jesus, and some of the special things we use when we come to celebrate the Holy Meal, the Eucharist, the Supper of the Lord. As you can see, we'll often have candles at the altar, not because we need candles, there's plenty of light, but because when we see candles, it says to us, hey, there's a party, this is something really special. Now you can see some of the other things that you will be using every time we have a Eucharist. First off, you can see the beautiful chalice and paten, the cup and the plate. These ones are put out for this video because they're amongst the most precious ones we have here at the cathedral. They're made of gold because we like to use the very best things we possibly can when it comes to worship. In every altar there's always a cross, and in the case of the nave altar we have this beautiful copy of the beautiful San Diamo cross that spoke to St. Francis at the beginning of his ministry as a holy man, around about 800 or so years ago. So this reminds us that Jesus calls us to take up our cross and follow him. And when the priest is standing at the altar, he'll see that cross, and it's a call to be mindful and to be aware of the mystery of God's presence. Of course, we're going to take the bread and the wine. And we have some bread and wine here. The bread is unleavened bread. It doesn't have any yeast in it. And we break it up into little parts so that everybody, if possible, is sharing symbolically from the one piece of bread. And then, of course, we have some wine. In the olden days, wine was sort of like soft drink because water was often not very clean. So people drank wine and beer with everyday meals. So for us, it's more a case of wine as a symbol of celebration. A meal with wine is a meal with joy and celebration. So as we come to the Eucharist, we'll be taking the bread and the wine. We'll be giving thanks. We'll be breaking the bread and placing it on the special plate. We'll be pouring the wine into the chalice, into the gold cup, and we'll be giving thanks to God for everything that God has done for us and everything that God will do through us in the week ahead.